We now continue our weekly Land Report segment with the American Society of Farm Managers and Rural Appraisers. Past National President Dennis Reyman joins us now for more. Dennis, thank you so much for being here. You know, we talked last winter. You had mentioned that you were anticipating some rain arriving this spring. Boy, did it. Western Iowa no longer dry on the drought monitor. So tell us how planting season has been so far.
Well, that certainly came true. We talked about the fog days that we were having an unusual amount of intense fog back in January and early February. And the old saying is that 90 days to 100 days after those fog events, you'll have rain. And the intensity of those fog days certainly translated into the amount of rain. We've had, depending on which part of Western Iowa you're looking at, we've had the rainiest to the third or fourth rainiest May in the last 132 years. So we certainly broke the drought, and that really intensified about April 25th. So corn that was planted, a lot of corn was planted by April 25th, and that, of course, had to work with the wet, cool soils to emerge, but most of it was able to emerge okay. But certainly now we're seeing some of the more waterlogged areas where the crop has died out, the seed rotted. This is in corn and soybeans both. So there will be replanting. There's difficult decisions to make on what to do with given areas of fields. So a lot of fields look great, but certainly if you get out and go through those fields, a lot of variance.
Yeah, so yield potential obviously varies depending on what part of the state folks are in, but for the most part overall, compared to previous years?
Yeah, we look pretty good. I'm going to use the 80-20 rule. 80% of the fields and 80% of the crops look pretty good. Now, that being said, there's still a lot of soybeans to be planted yet, and a lot just have been planted. So depending on where you're at in this part of the state, there may be a lot of acres that are sitting unplanted and may become fallow or prevent plant, I should say, for the year. So there's going to be a lot of variability. One thing we are always concerned about in a spring like this is shallow root syndrome. The corn crop especially will sit there with shallow root mass that doesn't need to go down because it's got all the moisture at once at the surface. Then later when it gets hot and dry during pollination and grain fill, it doesn't have the deep roots to go down and get that moisture. So it can be pretty impactful. July temperatures are always important, especially when those shallow roots become a factor.
Thank you, Dennis, for all of that information. Of course, hoping for better weather. I know there is still rain in the forecast for a lot of folks there. I appreciate you giving us all the information. That is Dennis Reyman with the American Society of Farm Managers and Rural Appraisers.